The future doesn't sit around waiting for you to feel ready. It doesn't slow down so you can catch your breath, gather your courage, or double check your plan for the 10th time. It's moving, relentlessly, and every second you spend seeking certainty is a second you're falling behind. The truth is, certainty is an illusion. By the time you're sure, the opportunity is already gone. The ones who actually bend the future in their direction understand this. They act before all the answers are in. They make decisions with incomplete data. They commit to building before the path is perfectly lit. And yes, they get things wrong often. But every mistake teaches them faster than hesitation ever could. Speed beats precision when the environment is shifting. You can correct course mid-flight. You can't regain the years you spent parked on the runway. People confuse preparation with progress. Preparation is comfortable because it feels like forward movement without the risk. You're researching, planning, discussing. It's safe. But it's also where dreams quietly go to die. The future belongs to those who launch before the manual is finished, who figure it out while it's moving, not while it's still in theory mode. Acting before certainty doesn't mean recklessness. It means trusting your ability to adapt. It's the confidence that even if you miscalculate, you can adjust faster than the competition. This is the mindset that drives innovation, not waiting for the perfect blueprint, but drawing it in real time with every iteration, every failure, every adjustment. Look at the biggest breakthroughs in history. None of them began with a neat, proven plan. They started with a bold move into unknown territory. The map was made along the way. Certainty would have killed them before they began, because certainty only exists in the past, where the rules are already known and the rewards already claimed. You have to rewire your brain to see uncertainty as an ally, not a threat. It's the space where the game is still open to being rewritten. Every unknown variable is a lever waiting to be pulled by someone bold enough to act. And when you move first, you're not just playing the game, you're defining it. Here's the reality: you will never feel ready. That's not a sign to stop, it's a signal to start. Readiness is not a prerequisite for greatness, it's a side effect of doing the work. The future rewards action before certainty because action creates momentum, momentum creates options, and options create the power to shape outcomes. Waiting for clarity is just handing that power to someone else. You can either be the one chasing the future someone else is building, or you can be the one they're chasing. That choice won't be made when you feel ready. It will be made the moment you decide to move, before you're sure, before it's safe, and before the world tells you it's possible. Comfort is the slow death of innovation. It feels good, it feels safe, but it dulls the instinct to push boundaries. Breakthroughs are never born in perfectly controlled conditions. They erupt from chaos. When the rules are unclear, when the resources are scarce, when the stakes are high enough to strip away everything unnecessary. Chaos is not an obstacle, it's a catalyst. In chaos, the normal playbook collapses. The best practices, the polished procedures, the predictable schedules, all of it becomes irrelevant. You are forced to think in ways you've never thought before, because the environment demands it. And that demand pulls out levels of creativity, resilience, and problem solving you can't access when you're insulated by comfort. The reason chaos produces breakthroughs is simple: pressure forces clarity. When you're surrounded by uncertainty, you have no choice but to focus on what actually matters. The noise drops away. Comfort encourages delay and overthinking. Chaos demands action. Comfort allows you to avoid risk. Chaos makes risk unavoidable. And in that moment, when hesitation is no longer an option, you discover how much more you're capable of. Every major leap forward in history has been born from unstable conditions. Revolutionary technologies, game-changing ideas, radical shifts, they emerge from moments where survival depends on adaptation. Nobody rewrites the future while reclining in a chair, reviewing perfect spreadsheets in a perfect office. The future is written in environments where everything could collapse at any second, and yet someone chooses to build anyway. Chaos strips away the luxury of waiting. In comfort, you can postpone decisions indefinitely because nothing is on fire. In chaos, every second matters. That urgency is a hidden gift. It accelerates experimentation, shortens feedback loops, and forces solutions into existence far faster than comfort ever would. And there's another truth about chaos: it exposes the people who are built for impact. Most will retreat, cling to what's familiar, and wait for conditions to stabilize. But the ones who lean into the storm, who use it as fuel instead of a reason to stop, are the ones who own the future once the dust settles. If you only create when conditions are perfect, you'll create very little, and it will be safe, predictable, and forgettable. The real breakthroughs, the ones that reshape industries and redefine what's possible, are ugly in their early stages. They're built under pressure, with missing pieces, in environments that are anything but calm. Chaos is not your enemy. It's the environment where the impossible becomes necessary, and necessity is the mother of invention. If you want to build something that truly matters, stop waiting for things to be stable. Stability breeds repetition. Chaos breeds revolution. Perfect clarity is a mirage. You'll never see the entire landscape before you take the first step. And if you wait for that perfect view, you'll be left standing on the starting line while someone else builds the future. Velocity matters more than perfect clarity because movement creates opportunities that thought alone never will. Think of it like launching a rocket. You don't wait until you've mapped every molecule of space before you fire the engines. You launch with what you know and you adapt as the data comes in. The momentum itself opens new perspectives, new insights, and new paths that standing still would never reveal. Clarity feels safe, but it's deceptive. It often disguises procrastination as preparation. People say they're waiting until things make sense, when really they're avoiding the discomfort of moving without guarantees. Velocity doesn't give you that luxury. It forces you to deal with reality as it unfolds, to make real-time adjustments, to think on your feet instead of on paper. In a fast-changing world, the advantage goes to the one who learns the fastest, not the one who starts the most certain. Velocity accelerates learning cycles. Every iteration, every micro-failure, every adjustment compounds into an advantage that slow movers can't catch. By the time they've found their perfect plan, you've already tested 10 versions and built the 11th. Moving quickly doesn't mean being reckless. It means recognizing that forward motion is the ultimate teacher. You can correct your direction mid-flight, but you can't correct stagnation. Progress is not a straight line, it's a series of course corrections. The faster you move, the faster you can gather the data to make those corrections. The danger of seeking perfect clarity is that it anchors you to the past. The information you're waiting for is often outdated by the time it arrives. In high-velocity environments, yesterday's truths can become tomorrow's limitations. By moving now, you get to write the rules instead of obeying the ones already set. Velocity also sends a message to your team, your competitors, and yourself. It signals that you're not just playing defense, you're shaping the field. It creates momentum that draws resources, talent, and attention toward your mission. People are drawn to movement because it feels alive, urgent, and inevitable. Here's the paradox: velocity creates clarity. Action sharpens vision. The things you couldn't see from the sidelines become obvious when you're in the arena, taking hits, making plays, and adjusting in real time. You don't gain understanding and then act. You act, and in the process, you gain understanding. If you want to win in a world that moves at the speed of change, stop aiming for perfect clarity before you start. Perfect clarity is the final stage of a journey, not the prerequisite for taking it. The ones who move first, even in uncertainty, don't just react to the future. They define it. If people call your goals realistic, it means they've already been done. The label unrealistic is not an insult. It's confirmation that you're aiming beyond the boundaries of what's familiar. The truth is, everything that's now considered normal was once dismissed as impossible. Planes, the internet, electric cars, reusable rockets, each one was ridiculed before it was celebrated. Being called unrealistic means you've stepped outside the comfort zone of consensus. You've chosen a path where there's no manual, no proven formula, and no guarantee of success. That's exactly why it matters. The future isn't built by people who follow established limits. It's built by those who redraw them. Most people aim for what's realistic because it feels safe. But safety is just the slow road to mediocrity. When you aim higher, so high it makes others uncomfortable, you trigger a different kind of energy. It forces you to think bigger, move faster, and solve problems no one else is even looking at. The criticism you get is not a warning sign to stop. It's proof that you're playing in territory most people are afraid to touch. Think about it: the first time you share a truly bold vision, people will laugh. Not because they've analyzed it and found flaws, but because it challenges their own sense of possibility. They can't see what you see, so they assume it can't be real. That's normal. You're not building for their current worldview. You're building for the one they'll adopt years from now. Being unrealistic also forces innovation. When your target is beyond what's known, you can't rely on old methods. You have to invent new tools, new systems, new ways of thinking. That's where the breakthroughs hide, not in refining what's already there, but in creating what's never existed. Of course, there's a cost. You'll be misunderstood. You'll be underestimated. You'll be told you're wasting your time. But here's the thing. If you only chase what others already understand, you'll spend your life following, not leading. The friction you face isn't a wall. It's a filter that removes the people who can't help you build. What's left are those willing to take the leap with you. The world needs people willing to aim beyond the reasonable. Without them, progress stalls. The realistic thinkers maintain the present, the unrealistic ones create the future. And the more resistance you face at the start, the greater the validation when you pull it off. Because nothing silences doubt like reality catching up to your vision. So the next time someone tells you your idea is unrealistic, treat it as fuel. It means you're not wasting your time polishing what already exists. You're pushing into territory where the rules haven't been written yet. That's where the biggest risks live, and the biggest rewards. Most people build on top of what already exists. They take the current version of reality, tweak it a little, and call it progress. That's not innovation, that's iteration. If you want to create something truly different, you have to strip away every inherited assumption and rebuild from the ground up using first principles. First principles thinking is about breaking a problem down to its most fundamental truths, the parts that cannot be reduced any further, and reasoning upward from there. It's the difference between asking, what's the best way to do what's already being done, and asking, what is the actual physics, the actual cost, the actual limitation at the root of this problem? Inherited assumptions are dangerous because they feel invisible. They're baked into the way industries operate, the way companies plan, and the way individuals think. People accept them without question because it's always been done this way. But that's exactly how breakthroughs get missed. History is full of examples where the biggest leaps happened because someone refused to accept the baseline everyone else took for granted. When you think from first principles, you free yourself from the weight of tradition. You stop asking how to work within existing constraints and start asking whether those constraints are even real. Sometimes they're just artifacts of old technology, outdated economics, or human habit. The moment you see that, you're no longer bound by them. This mindset changes the way you approach problems. Let's say something is considered too expensive to produce. Instead of accepting that as fact, you break down the actual cost structure, materials, manufacturing, logistics, and ask, why does it cost this much? Could it cost less if we changed the entire approach? That's when radical new solutions appear. Solutions that don't exist in the mental models of people who accept the default answers. Building from first principles is harder than following the blueprint someone else hands you. It requires more thinking, more experimentation, and more willingness to be wrong. But it also removes the ceiling on what's possible. When you're no longer anchored to inherited limits, you can pursue ideas that others can't even visualize. It's also a discipline. You have to train yourself to spot where you're borrowing assumptions without realizing it. Anytime you hear the words, that's just how it works, or that's not possible, you're probably standing in the shadow of an inherited belief. First principles thinking is how you step into the light and see what's actually there. If you want to build something that doesn't just compete with the present but replaces it, start from scratch. Tear everything down to the fundamentals, question every layer, and rebuild it in a way that makes sense today, not a century ago. That's not just how you solve problems, it's how you redefine them entirely. Obsession has a bad reputation because most people waste it. They pour it into things that are small, temporary, or designed only to impress others. But obsession itself is not the problem. In fact, it's the most powerful form of fuel you can have, if you channel it toward problems that matter. Obsession is focus at a level that rewires your brain. It's the inability to let go of an idea until you've cracked it open and figured out how to make it real. It keeps you awake at night, not because you're stressed, but because your mind is still building, still testing, still running simulations in the background. That's energy you can't fake, and it's the exact energy required to solve the kinds of problems that seem impossible. The challenge is direction. An uncontrolled obsession can burn you out on trivial things. But when you aim it at something that actually matters, something that will still matter 100 years from now, it becomes unstoppable. You no longer need external motivation because the work itself pulls you forward. You stop chasing quick wins and start building for impact at a scale most people can't comprehend. The world's biggest problems are not solved by people who dabble. They're solved by people who can't not work on them. People who will keep going after 10 failed attempts, 100 rejections, or years without public recognition, because they're not chasing applause, they're chasing the solution. When you channel obsession into meaningful problems, it changes your relationship with time. Hours blur, days disappear. The process becomes the reward. And that's critical because solving big problems isn't a sprint, it's a long campaign. If you're not obsessed, you won't last. The first obstacle will stop you. The first setback will convince you it's not worth it. But if the problem is big enough and your obsession is real enough, quitting won't even be an option you can seriously consider. You have to choose your target carefully. Aim it at something too small, and even success will feel hollow. Aim it at something too big for you to care about deeply, and you'll run out of energy before you make a dent. The sweet spot is a problem that is both urgent and deeply personal, one that you can't stop thinking about because it affects you, your future, or the future you want to leave behind. Obsession is the multiplier of talent, skill, and time. Without it, even the most brilliant mind will get outpaced by someone less gifted but more consumed by the mission. With it, you can push through resistance that would break almost anyone else. If you find yourself obsessing over something, don't dismiss it. Study it. Test it. And if it's a problem that matters, lock onto it with everything you've got. Obsession is energy. Where you direct it will decide whether you burn out or light up the world. Speed is not just about getting somewhere first. It's about learning faster than anyone else. In a world where conditions shift overnight, the ability to adapt quickly is the real competitive edge. Every moment you move, test, fail, and adjust puts you a step ahead of the people still debating their first move. The faster you act, the faster you gather real-world feedback. Ideas don't evolve in conference rooms, they evolve in the field where they collide with reality. Each collision teaches you something you couldn't have learned by thinking about it. And the more cycles of action and feedback you can run, the more refined and unstoppable your solution becomes. Speed compounds knowledge. If you learn one new thing a week, you're crawling. If you learn 10 things a week because you're constantly testing, iterating, and deploying, your understanding accelerates exponentially. That acceleration is what allows you to not just react to the future, but shape it. You stop following the curve of change and start pulling it in your direction. This is why moving fast is not recklessness. It's a strategy. You're compressing the time between idea and result, between uncertainty and clarity. You're reducing the distance between where you are and where the breakthroughs live. And while others are waiting for conditions to stabilize, you're building the thing that will define those conditions. Speed also builds momentum, and momentum changes the entire game. It attracts talent, investment, attention, and resources. People want to be part of something that's moving because it feels alive. Slow projects bleed energy. Fast ones generate it. Every visible leap forward creates gravity that pulls in more fuel for the next leap. But here's the deeper truth. Speed is not just about winning today's race. It's about controlling tomorrow's landscape. The faster you learn, the faster you see patterns others can't see yet. That foresight lets you make bold moves, while the rest of the field is still catching up to yesterday. This is how the future gets shaped, not by people who waited until they had all the answers, but by people who learn their way into new realities faster than anyone else. Of course, speed means you will make mistakes. Lots of them. But mistakes are data. The cost of moving slowly is not fewer mistakes, it's fewer chances to correct them. If you fail quickly, you get to rebuild quickly. If you fail slowly, you're just sinking time into something that might already be obsolete by the time you fix it. In the end, speed turns learning into a weapon. And in a world where the next big shift can happen in months, not decades, the ability to learn and adapt at maximum velocity is the difference between being shaped by the future or being the one who shapes it. The future is not waiting for permission. It's not slowing down so anyone can catch up. It belongs to those who move before they're ready, who thrive in the chaos, who value velocity over certainty, who refuse to be boxed in by inherited limits. It belongs to those whose so-called unrealistic visions become the reality everyone else will later claim they saw coming. This is not about talent alone. It's about mindset, speed, and the willingness to burn with purpose. It's about building from the ground up, powered by obsession, and aiming that energy at problems that will still matter when we're gone. The window is open now. Every hesitation narrows it. Every bold step widens it. You can be the one reacting to the future someone else shapes, or you can be the one they're all chasing. That choice is made not someday, but in every single decision you make right now.